The tiny kitten's scream echoed through the room as the massive Alaskan Malamute puppy bounded toward her. Everyone thought it was the end. But what happened next shocked them all. That moment of fear would soon turn into something no one expected, a bond so pure. It would melt every heart watching. The tiny orange kitten pressed itself against the corner of the couch, trembling as a fluffy Alaskan Malamute puppy crouched playfully before it. Their eyes met, one filled with fear, the other with innocent curiosity. What began as a moment of tension would soon become a story of courage, trust, and unexpected friendship. It was a quiet afternoon when the new puppy arrived home for the first time. His thick fur glistened under the soft sunlight streaming through the window, his tail wagging with uncontainable excitement. To him, everything was new. New smells, new sounds, and especially the small orange creature watching from the couch's corner. The kitten's tiny body stiffened, for standing on end. She had never seen anything so big and loud before. Her wide eyes followed every move of the puppy, who bounded forward with playful yips, thinking he'd just found a new friend. But to the kitten, this fluffy giant was terrifying. She hissed, backing farther into the cushions, heart pounding fast. The puppy froze, tilting his head in confusion. Across the room, their owner watched nervously, unsure whether to intervene or let nature take its course. The room held its breath. Their story had just begun. The kitten's heart pounded like a tiny drum inside her chest. Every time the puppy's paws thudded against the floor, she flinched. His happy barks echoed through the living room, but to her, they sounded like thunder. She pressed herself tighter into the corner, wishing she could disappear into the soft fabric of the couch. He was too big, too loud, too fast. His every movement sent her instincts screaming to run, but there was nowhere to go. The smell of his fur filled the air, a strange mix of warmth and grass, and something unfamiliar. She didn't understand it, only that it was new, and new meant danger. From across the room, the puppy sat, head tilted, confusion in his bright eyes. Why was the little one so scared? He only wanted to play, but the kitten didn't know that. To her, this fluffy stranger was a storm, and she was just a leaf trembling in its path. Her small body quivered, her tail curled tight. The world outside that corner felt too big, too uncertain. For now, all she could do was wait, and hope the giant would lose interest. The Alaskan Malamute puppy couldn't understand what he'd done wrong. His tail wagged hopefully as he watched the little orange kitten shiver in the corner. He tilted his head from side to side, letting out a soft whine, as if asking, "Why are you scared?" "I just want to play." He took a cautious step forward, lowering himself onto his belly to look smaller, less threatening. His bright eyes sparkled with curiosity, his tongue lolling out in a clumsy puppy grin. But the kitten still hissed, tiny claws flashing for just a moment before retreating again. The puppy froze, puzzled. He didn't feel angry, only a little sad. Maybe she didn't know yet that he wasn't here to hurt her. With a small sigh, he lay down on the floor, head resting on his paws, watching her quietly. In his young heart, he only wanted a friend. The next morning, the house was quiet except for the sound of soft paws padding across the floor. The puppy spotted the kitten perched on the windowsill, sunlight painting her fur in shades of gold. His tail began to wag again, hopeful and gentle this time. In his mouth, he carried a small blue toy, a squeaky ball, his favorite. He trotted over and placed it near the kitten, tail thumping softly against the floor. For a moment, she stared at the toy, then at him. Her tiny nose twitched as she leaned forward, curiosity flickering through her fear. She gave the toy a cautious sniff before darting back to safety. The puppy didn't chase her. Instead, he lay down beside the toy, silent and patient, his eyes kind. The kitten peeked out again, watching him carefully. Something inside her shifted, just a little spark of trust beginning to grow. That night, the house was wrapped in silence. The moonlight spilled through the curtains, casting soft silver shadows across the floor. The kitten had wandered off, exploring with growing courage, her tiny paws tapping quietly over the wooden boards. But in her curiosity, she slipped behind a cabinet, wedged tightly in the narrow space. That a faint meow broke the stillness, soft at first, then sharper, filled with panic. The puppy's ears perked up immediately. He lifted his head, listening, then trotted toward the sound. When the cries grew louder, He barked, a deep, urgent sound that startled the sleeping owner awake. The man rushed in, confused, following the puppy's insistent barks until he found the kitten trembling, trapped. Gently, he pulled the cabinet aside and lifted her out, fragile and frightened. The puppy whined softly, circling them, tail wagging with relief. For the first time, the kitten didn't hiss. She blinked up at the puppy, her eyes wide but calm. He had saved her, and though she didn't understand why, something inside her changed that night. The fear that once ruled her began to melt, replaced by the faint warmth of trust. The days that followed felt different. The kitten no longer ran at the sound of the puppy's paws. Instead, she watched him from across the room, her wide eyes filled not with fear, but with quiet curiosity. Every now and then, he'd glance her way, wagging his tail as if to say, "I'm still here." Little by little, she began to come closer. At first, just a few cautious steps. Then, one brave leap onto the same couch where he napped. The puppy pretended not to notice, resting his head between his paws, his tail swishing slowly. Patiently. One afternoon, she did something neither of them expected. She touched his nose with hers. It was quick, almost shy, but it was a beginning. From then on, they shared meals side by side, played gentle games of chase, and even curled up together in the same patch of sunlight. The walls between them faded, replaced by quiet companionship. The kitten had found safety not in hiding, but in trust. And the puppy, once eager for play, had learned the meaning of gentle love. Together, they filled the house with a warmth no words could capture. Weeks passed, and the once timid kitten had transformed completely. She now followed the Malamute puppy everywhere, her tiny paws patting beside his large ones, her soft purrs blending with his gentle huffs. When thunderstorms rumbled outside, she buried herself in his thick fur, finding safety in his warmth. He guarded her instinctively, standing between her and anything unfamiliar. When strangers visited, he'd stay close, his tail wagging protectively as if to say, "She's mine to look after." The kitten, in turn, groomed his ears, curled beside him for naps, and meowed softly whenever he left her sight. Their friendship had become something beautiful, built not on similarity, but on trust. What began with fear had grown into an unspoken promise to protect, to comfort, and to love. Together, they weren't just companions. They were family. The tiny kitten who once trembled in fear now slept peacefully beside her gentle giant. Love had conquered fear, and trust had bloomed where panic once lived. Their friendship reminded everyone watching that even the smallest heart can learn to trust again. That if this story touched yours, like, share, and subscribe.